Alright, hello everybody. Today I'll be going over income elasticity of demand. To keep the definition in brief and to explain it as easily as possible, income elasticity is the measure of responsiveness of demand due to changes in income. Pretty straightforward definition. In the last video we went over price elasticity of demand, and this is just another elasticity. It shows how a change in one thing versus a change in another impacts the conclusion. So when you're calculating income elasticity of demand, you use the formula very similar to price elasticity, except where you have the change in price in the denominator for price elasticity of demand, you would have change in income. So you have your percent change in quantity in the numerator, percent change in income in the denominator, and if you break that down, that is final quantity minus initial quantity over final income minus initial income over initial. And again, the percent signs will cancel out, so either you can use them if it aids your understanding, or you could just leave it out and realize it will cancel out. Alright, so in comparison to price elasticity of demand, when we're talking about income elasticity of demand, we do not take the absolute value. That is very key to remember, and we do not take the absolute value because it helps draw conclusions with respect to income elasticity of demand much easier when we're talking about inferior goods, normal goods, and the necessities and luxuries on both categories. So, to go over this, I have a number line, and it essentially describes which good, if you have a price elasticity which is positive versus price elasticity that is negative, which good would be normal and which good would be inferior. In a previous video, I think I might have gone over normal and inferior goods, but just to sum it in brief, a normal good would be any good where if a consumer's income increases, what happens is their quantity demanded will not change. An inferior good, on the other hand, if the consumer's income increases, you are not going to buy much of that other good. So, for example, if your income increases, you're going to not be eating at McDonald's. You're going to want better meals. So you're not going to buy McDonald's Happy Meals. And as a result, McDonald's Happy Meals are considered inferior goods. So to move on, we have necessities and luxuries within those categories. A necessity is, as the word suggests, it's something that we need in order to satisfy our well-being. A luxury, it's nice to have a luxury, but is it really something that will help us and make our well-being much, much better? Not necessarily. So within these categories, your necessities, if it's a normal good, it's going to be between 0 and 1 with your YED value. If it's greater than 1, it would be a luxury with respect to normal goods. On the other hand, if you have a YED between -1 and 0, you have an inferior necessity, and similarly, if it's greater than -1, you have an inferior luxury. So it's always important to remember there are two sides to the number line, and don't try and memorize this, more so try and understand why this is the case, and keep on practicing with practice questions to get a better grasp on how to deduce the YED values and come to conclusions regarding certain goods. So it's also important to go over the Engel curve when we're talking about income elasticity of demand. What does the Engel curve really represent? It shows the relationship income and quantity demanded have with each other. We see in the curve there's income on the y-axis and quantity demanded on the x-axis. And it shows a continuum because at lower incomes, we have YED greater than 1, as I just mentioned. And if you see at point A, you are not buying as much of luxuries when you have a low income. And then you go up a bit to point B, you are increasing your income here, and as a result, you realize the good that was once a luxury is now a necessity. Gradually, your incomes keep increasing, and then when you reach a higher income, the good that was a necessity is now an inferior good. And that itself shows how it is a continuum, kind of like a circle essentially, where you go from low incomes demanding nothing of a good, considering it a luxury, and then you get to high incomes, and then you just still do not demand any of that good as it becomes an inferior good. So it kind of goes like a wave, kind of, where it reaches a peak and goes down, and that reflects the continuum of the angle curve. Generally, this may be on exams where you might have to explain in essays, give evidence on price elasticity, so it really helps. And let's go over 2 questions now. I will explain my answers to them, but pause for a minute and we'll go over them momentarily. All right, welcome back. So, here are the answers I had to question 1 and question 2. Question 1, I said binders when talking about which good is a necessity. So here we are given a list of goods and their elasticities. To quickly note, we have webcam and speaker, and we're given price elasticity of demand for both. Price elasticity of demand, generally, we're talking about whether a good is whether a good is demand elastic or demand inelastic, not income elastic or income inelastic. So we can cross these 2 out because they don't really talk about whether a good is a necessity or a luxury. Moving on, stylus and binders, on the other hand. Stylus, we usually use cross price elasticity. We haven't gone over that, but it compares how a change in price in one good impacts the change in quantity demanded for another good. So we can cancel this out as well, because these cross price elasticities only cover complements and substitutes, and I'll try to go over that in another video. So as a result, the correct answer here would be binders. Question 2, Victoria's income rose 50%. She now buys fewer beans, 25% less. What can be deduced? So when we get questions like this, you want to calculate the income elasticity, and if you do the math, you get negative 0.5. And if we refer to our number line, we know that a value for YED of negative 0.5 is going to be an inferior good. Inferior necessity, in fact, to be more specific. So that's our deduction. All right. Thank you so much, and I really hope this video was helpful. Please give as many critiques as possible on how I can improve, and hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.